I was just a young kid, and the events of that fateful night still send shivers down my spine. Today, I'm going to share my first-person account of how I narrowly escaped murder, and it's a story that will have you on the edge of your seat. It all started on the scariest night of my life. There were 5 of us. In my family, me at 12, my older brother Hank at 15, and my little sister Sally, just 6. It was a seemingly ordinary Saturday night, and tragedy struck. Hank was out riding his bicycle with a friend when a car collided with him. The driver called my mom, who in turn called the police, and an ambulance rushed Hank to the hospital. As I sat alone at home, engrossed in Raiders of the Lost Ark on Netflix, I heard my mom's frantic cries and panicked conversations with my dad. Something was terribly wrong. I rushed to the kitchen, my heart pounding, and asked my mom what was happening. All she managed to convey was that Hank had been hit by a car and had a broken leg. My dad had the car ready in the driveway, and my mom took my little sister with her. I was asked if I'd be fine staying home alone, and with youthful bravado, I said, "No problem." Little did I know what awaited me that night. My apprehension about Hank's well-being was quickly overshadowed by a growing sense of unease. As hours passed, and my movie continued, I couldn't help but hope to hear my family's voices when they returned. However, silence reigned, and there were no familiar sounds of their arrival. The eerie feeling that something was terribly wrong gnawed at me. I couldn't ignore it. Despite my fear, I ventured out of my room, quietly opening the door and peeking under the banister that overlooked the living room. What I saw next sent chills down my spine. The living room, shrouded in darkness, was not empty. 3 tall figures prowled around with flashlights, and it was clear they weren't friends or family. I froze in terror, too petrified to even take a breath. It took me several agonizing seconds to muster the courage to retreat quietly into my bedroom, shutting the door with a loud click. Desperation drove me to my closet, where I hid behind a box of old toys and a bag of winter clothes. I prayed that I wasn't in plain sight. My heart raced as minutes stretched into an eternity, waiting for my bedroom door to open, and eventually it did. At that very moment, I was certain I was going to be killed. Footsteps echoed in my room, and I couldn't determine if it was one intruder or 2. I listened as they moved around my bed, the blankets being ripped off. The room fell into an eerie silence. The footsteps drew closer to the closet, where I was concealed among the clothes. A moment of silence, then the closet door creaked open. My heart threatened to burst from my chest as I held my breath, head buried in my arms. The door remained open for an agonizingly long time. I dared not move a muscle. I was paralyzed by fear. For what felt like an eternity, I could only hear heavy breathing. Then, finally, the door closed and the intruder walked away. It was only after I mustered the courage to look up that I realized how exposed I had been behind the box of toys and bag of clothes. I had been right there, hidden in plain sight, and I had miraculously escaped the intruder's notice. I stayed in that closet for over an hour, trembling with fear, until I heard my parents downstairs. They had returned to find the front door open and the house ransacked. Many valuables were missing, but what was most important was that I had narrowly escaped a fate that was too chilling to contemplate. Looking back on that night, I can't help but wonder if the man who opened my closet door had seen me hiding there. Perhaps he was just a burglar, motivated solely by the desire to rob our house with no intent to harm a child. Or perhaps, in the darkness, he simply didn't notice me, and by the narrowest of margins, I had escaped a fate that would have haunted me forever.